It's a story that's been simmering for months. The saga of Tiffany Henyard, the self-declared supermayor whose extravagant spending and controversial leadership have left taxpayers outraged and exhausted. As her time in office ticks down, the cloud of an FBI investigation and the fury of her constituents grow heavier by the day. But even now, as her influence fades, she continues to stage a spectacle, a costly one, paid for by the very people she was sworn to serve. Tonight, we dive deep into the latest chapter of this political drama and the unanswered questions that still linger. The curtain is about to fall on Tiffany Henyard's reign, but not before one final act. At her last food giveaway event, the line of cars stretched for blocks. Tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars were poured into yet another one of her headline-grabbing giveaways. One attendee admitted they'd never even cast a vote for her. They were simply there to cash in. "I don't like her," the man said plainly, "but I'll take what I can today." While some view these giveaways as acts of kindness, others see them as symbols of Henyard's self-centered leadership. It's obvious that massive sums were spent, some on programs that helped, but a lot on herself. New documents show she pulled in over $347,000 last year alone from her roles in Dalton and Thornton Township, more than the mayor of Chicago makes. That haul included nearly $5,000 a month in expenses, over $1,000 monthly for a vehicle allowance, and 2 SUVs charged to Dalton taxpayers that she barely used. And ever since her election loss, she hasn't shown up to a single board meeting. When asked why, she shrugged it off. "We don't want meetings," she said, brushing off any sense of duty or accountability. But for longtime employees like Stephanie, who worked 2 decades for the township and dared to speak out, it was clear from the start. Tiffany Henyard wasn't there for the people. "If she'd just admitted one mistake, we could have moved on," Stephanie said, but she kept putting on a show and everyone watched. Every other week it was a new headline. Even as public outrage grew, Henyard never hesitated to show off her power. Investigations revealed her entourage traveling in style, first-class flights, high-end meals, all billed to the taxpayers, to the tune of over $100,000. In late 2023, she and her team stayed at the Four Seasons and racked up staggering restaurant charges. When pressed for answers, Henyard quickly distanced herself, saying she didn't personally manage the credit cards. "I know some of those charges are for you," she told reporters, though she couldn't explain the Las Vegas trip. "Of course I know where I was," she said, even as taxpayers picked up the tab. Dalton's travel policies made it all too easy. $600 a day for out-of-state travel, $400 a day within Illinois, plus every travel expense fully covered. Her successor didn't rush to slam her, noting that compensation depends on results. "Some people think athletes deserve millions," he said, "or doctors, or teachers. I'm not going to argue it. But one thing is clear. It's incredibly easy to exploit the system, and that's why residents must stay vigilant and demand accountability from their leaders. Despite all the scandals, the reckless spending, and the ongoing FBI investigation. And even after a physical altercation at a board meeting, Tiffany Henyard still has some loyal followers. She's been in this game for years. One woman said she handles security and gives back to the community. "That's why I support her," she explained. "People keep asking, what's next for Tiffany Henyard?" On election day, she hinted at bigger plans, but the FBI hasn't lost focus. Sources reveal that agents recently visited several of her close allies at home, gathering information and seeking cooperation. Then there's that 6-figure supervisor salary, 6 times what other township leaders earn. That paycheck is about to be slashed to just over $50,000 a year when the new supervisor takes over this May. But even with the looming pay cut, the shadow of Henyard's time in office still hangs heavy over Dalton and Thornton Township. Her name is still everywhere, on people's lips in the news, and her legacy remains fiercely debated. For many residents, the real cost of her tenure isn't just dollars and cents. It's the trust that was broken, a community watching its leaders put themselves before the people they promised to serve. Residents remember how fast the giveaways would come and go, the endless photo ops, the carefully crafted image of Henyard as the generous leader. But behind the scenes, those same taxpayers saw their money fueling lavish trips, perks, meals at upscale restaurants, luxury hotel stays, and first-class flights, things most people could only dream of. While the giveaways were painted as acts of kindness, many wondered how much was about appearances rather than genuine care. Meanwhile, those brave enough to speak up often faced intimidation or were simply ignored. Stephanie, the longtime township worker, summed it up best. She didn't want to admit she was wrong because then the show would be over, and that was the whole point. It was always about the show. Now, in the final weeks of Henyard's leadership, the community is caught between relief and uncertainty. Relief that the reckless spending and spectacle might finally end. Unease over what the future holds and whether the same patterns will repeat with new leaders. Because the truth is, Tiffany Henyard wasn't the first to exploit the system, and she won't be the last if people stop paying attention. Yet some loyalty remains unbroken. To them, she's a protector, a figure who used township resources to help those in need. They speak highly of her, insisting she did more good than harm, but for many others it's impossible to ignore the headlines, the investigations, and the harsh reality of where their money really went. As the FBI digs deeper, residents can only hope for answers, and maybe a little closure, because in the end, it's not just about Tiffany Henyard. It's about the community she leaves behind, a community that deserves so much better. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated on the latest developments. Let us know your thoughts below. What do you think about the leadership in your own town? Let's keep this conversation going. For many residents, the past few years under Tiffany Henyard's rule felt like living in the shadow of a constant performance, a non-stop spectacle, where flashy headlines replaced real progress, and the show mattered more than the everyday lives of the people. They remember the parades of SUVs, the endless rounds of applause at food giveaways, and the feeling that she was always center stage, no matter how much the community struggled. They talk about the money spent, but also the opportunities missed, the projects that never got off the ground, the meetings where she was nowhere to be found, and the sense that the township's resources could have been used so much better. All lay. Those travel stipends and credit card charges weren't just figures on paper. They were meals that could have fed hungry families, road repairs that could have made neighborhoods safer, and community programs that might have truly made a difference. People, like Stephanie, who spoke out and paid a price for it, hope this moment marks a real turning point. They're tired of leaders treating public service like their own personal piggy bank, tired of empty promises and endless excuses. Stephanie says she's seen it all, the cover-ups, the denials, the attempts to sweep everything under the rug. And she's not alone. The whispers have grown into a chorus, and that chorus is demanding answers. Even as the FBI continues knocking on doors, there's still a lingering unease. Some wonder if it will make a difference, if anything will really change. "I do not handle anything related to credit cards," Henyard said in a recent board meeting. "Some of those charges are for you, though." When asked about trips to Las Vegas, she fired back, "You don't know if I was in Las Vegas?" "Of course I do. Power doesn't give itself up easily, and the systems that let Henyard thrive are still in place, waiting for the next person who views public office as a stage. But there's also a quiet hope, a belief that if enough people keep asking questions, speaking out, and holding leaders accountable, maybe this time things will be different. Maybe this time the story will have a better ending, because communities like Dalton and Thornton Township aren't just built on mayors and supervisors. They're built on the voices of the people who live there, people who care enough to demand better and refuse to let the show go on forever. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the rise and fall of Tiffany Henyard's time in office. If you found this story as important as we have, please like this video, share it with your community, and let your voice be heard in the comments. Subscribe for updates as we continue following these stories and uncovering the truth together. Thanks for tuning into our channel, where we're dedicated to bringing you stories that matter. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives and updates on issues affecting your community. Your voice keeps this conversation alive, so drop a comment below and tell us what you think. We'll see you in the next video.